Hi guys, it is getting on towards midnight on the almost snowy night of Monday night, January 27th, 2014, and this is my first, probably not last rant about my Humpty Dumpty tribe hero, Mr. Chris Hedges. The moment I need your adulation, I am finished. Chris Hedges, the Pulitzer Prize winning journalist, and I don't know how many rants I've had about this guy. He never ceases to amaze me, this man, how he can completely humiliate me by this man. And I'm going to play you about 7 minutes of him talking. In 7 minutes, he says what I have been trying to say for 3 years on Humpty Dumpty Tribe, and I found this. It just came out today on Truth Dig, drilling beneath the headlines. And this is a speech. There's no video. It's an audio performance, I guess you would say, and then the whole thing is the whole transcript, word for word. The following is the transcript of a speech that Chris Hedges gave in Santa Monica, California on October 13th, 2013. So, as you can see on here, what the speech itself is 30 minutes. And then there's another 20 minutes of audience Q&A, which I'm getting ready to play. But guys, I'm telling you, I am going to give you a 7-minute snippet of this 51-minute tape. Now, what he's doing here, the setup, is he is comparing the novel Melville's Moby Dick to the collapse of well, not just not just America, but of global civilization, and if we're not careful, the entire planet. And so I'm going to come in here at 3 minutes and 45 seconds and go to 11 minutes and 15 seconds if I can make this, if I can find it.
We are now at 15 to 20 trillion. Can be looted from the U.S.
Okay,
Treasury.
so I'm going to let this play ahead. And so what this is, don't worry, the first few minutes the sound quality is bad, but it clears right up, and we're coming in at 3 minutes and 45 seconds. And here's Chris for 7.5 minutes.
With debt peonage. The ecosystem is, at the same time, swiftly disintegrating. Scientists from the International Program on the State of the Ocean a few days ago issued a new report that warned that the oceans are changing faster than anticipated and increasingly becoming inhospitable to life. The excess CO2 and heat from the atmosphere is rapidly warming and acidifying the seas. And this is compounded, the report noted, by increased levels of deoxygenation from nutrient runoffs from farming and climate change. The scientists call these effects a deadly trio that, when combined, are creating changes in the seas that are unprecedented in the planet's history. This is their language, not mine. The scientists wrote that each of the Earth's 5 known mass extinctions was preceded by at least one of these deadly trios: acidification, warming, and deoxygenation. They warned that the next mass extinction of sea life is already underway, the first such mass extinction in 55 million years. The University of Hawaii also released a new report saying the effects of climate change are now inevitable. It cannot be stopped. At best, the rate of devastation can be slowed. The report predicted that over the next 50 years, temperature levels will rise to such a rate that human life in many parts of the planet will become unsustainable. Millions upon millions of people will flee as refugees. Millions of species will face extinction. Coastal cities, including New York and London, will become unlivable. Microbes seem set to inherit the earth. Yet we, like Ahab and his crew, do not change course. We do not trust our eyes or intelligence. We trust in the myth of human progress, the absurd belief that human technology and ingenuity will save us, that somehow, although no one seems to be able to spell out how, we will be able to adapt. This myth is abetted by the corporate assault on culture, journalism, education, the arts, and critical thinking. Those who speak truth are marginalized and ignored, dismissed as pessimists in a culture that prides itself on a childlike optimism at the expense of reality. We have a mania for hope, which our corporate masters lavishly provide across the political and cultural spectrum to keep us passive. Friedrich Nietzsche, in Beyond Good and Evil, wrote that only a few people have the fortitude to look into what he calls the molten pit of human reality. A handful of artists and philosophers, for Nietzsche, are consumed by an insatiable curiosity, a quest for truth, a desire for meaning, and this sends them down into the bowels of the pit. They get as close as they can before the flames and heat drive them back. This understanding, Nietzsche wrote, comes at a high cost. Those singed by the fire become burnt children, eternal orphans in empires of illusion. Dying civilizations make war on independent intellectual inquiry, art, and culture, and on their burnt children. The masters of the corporate state do not want us to peer into the pit or heed the cries of those who have seen what awaits us. The corporate state, rather, feeds the thirst for illusion, happiness, and hope. It peddles the fantasy of endless material progress. It insists, and this is the argument of globalization, that our voyage is unalterable, decreed by natural law. It is part of the march of human progress, and those who challenge this myth are heretics. Clive Hamilton, in his book Requiem for a Species, Why We Resist the Truth About Climate Change, describes a kind of dark relief that comes from accepting that catastrophic climate change is virtually certain. This obliteration of false hopes, he says, requires an intellectual knowledge, but also an emotional knowledge. The first is attainable, the second, because it means that those we love, including our children, will face insecurity, misery, and suffering within a few decades, if not a few years, is much harder to acquire. To emotionally accept impending disaster, to attain the gut-level understanding that the power elite will not respond rationally to collapse, is as difficult to accept as our own mortality. The most daunting existential struggle of our time is to ingest this awful truth, intellectually and emotionally, and yet rise up to resist the corporate forces that are destroying us. The human species, led by white Europeans and Euro-Americans, has been on a 500-year-long planet-wide rampage of conquering, plundering, looting, exploiting, and polluting the earth, as well as killing the indigenous communities that stood in their way. But the game is up. The technical and scientific forces that created a life of unparalleled luxury, as well as unrivaled military and economic power for a small global elite, are the forces that now doom us. The capitalist quest for ceaseless expansion has become a curse, a death sentence. But even as our economic and environmental systems unravel, after the hottest year in the contiguous 48 states since record-keeping began 107 years ago, we lack the vision and the courage to shut down the engines of global capitalism. Complex civilizations, as many anthropologists have observed, have a habit of ultimately destroying themselves. Joseph Tainter, in The Collapse of Complex Societies, Charles Redmond, in Human Impact on Ancient Environments, and Ronald Wright, in A Short History of Progress, have all laid out the familiar patterns that lead to systems breakdown. The difference is that when we go down, the planet will go with us.
And there you go. And he gives you some idea of Chris Hedges spelling out what is going on this planet for anyone who wants to listen. It is just such a breath of fresh air to hear this man after. And guys, you do understand that that this man right here, who just called out what's going on this planet, is probably gets about 1/1000th the recognition of Alex Jones. But there is your antidote to Alex Jones. There is your antidote. And I've had other rants about when Chris Hedges agrees with Alex Jones on the subject. You damn well better listen. But you damn well better listen to everything that man just said. And I'm going to go listen to it again. Pass it on. Amen, Brother Chris. Bye, guys.